Oh, thank you so much for being here this morning. I'm so excited that we have so many different realtors running in local elections. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to advance the realtor causes locally. So I appreciate you all being here. And the way that it's going to work is I'm going to ask some questions. Jeff is going to ask questions. Jeff Chernault is our public policy chair, and I'm the president of the association. So we're going to take turns asking you a question, and we'll go around and give each of you the opportunity to respond. We are going to time it. Did we say 2 minutes? 2 minutes for each response. And then if you're edging on going over that, we're going to go just raise our hand. If you see your hand raised, just go ahead and make your final remark, and we're going to move to the next candidate. Does everybody have any questions before we move forward?
Can you hear me?
The opportunity.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you so much. So let's start here. If you could state your name and the position that you're running for in the city. And we're going to go ahead and start with Gustavo, so you can do just a basic introduction, please.
Sure. My name is Gustavo David Ortiz. I'm running for Mineola City Council, seat 2. Yeah, I'm very excited and appreciative of this opportunity. Thank you.
Excellent. Diane.
Yes, I'm Diane Travis. I'm running for City Council of Claremont, seat 3, which is the mayor position.
Excellent. And Chris.
I'm Chris Walker. I'm running for District 1, which is for mayor for the city of Groveland.
Excellent. And Mr. Walter Price.
Yes, I'm Walter Price. I'm running for Tavares City Council, seat 3. I've lived here in Tavares for 40 years, raised my family here, and I've been a realtor here in Lake and Sumter County for about 35 years now.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here this morning. So I'm going to kick it off with the first question. What methods have you used to manage time between your real estate profession and campaigning? And I'm going to let Chris go first on this one.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I get up early in the morning. I get up at 6:15 a.m. I am in my truck. I have built a float that says elect Chris Walker. So I'm pulling this float at 6:30 in the morning to all 3 schools. Thank God we only have 3. So I go to the high school first, and then I sit on 50 for 45 minutes, and I'm usually done by 9 o'clock. And then I get back home and start making my calls to my clients.
Excellent. Very good. The next person on the list is Diane.
Yeah, so this year was, I've been on the council 6 years, so this year was very different for campaigning because of COVID. So luckily, a lot of my campaigning has been by email and postcards. So I've got you beat, Chris. I get up at 5 a.m.
Oh.
And I usually hit the gym or do my bike ride or my workout or whatever I do, and then get on my emails and start my day that way. But the campaigning this year has been so different because of the mailing and the postcards. But now that we're getting down to the wire, it's a lot of walking and just leaving palm cards at some of the neighborhoods. And real estate, you know, real estate doesn't work 9 to 5, unfortunately, or fortunately, if you will. So squeezing in, like as soon as I finish the Zoom meeting, I'm going to a closing. So the real estate gets fit in between the campaigning, and a lot of times it's like when I send out my newsletter that I send out, I'll put something in on the campaign. And you know, a lot of times when I work out, these are all voters. So I'm constantly campaigning on pretty basically whatever I do. So it all kind of goes together. And yeah, I've been a realtor with Lake and Sumter County since 1994. So I do know a lot of the people, and it's been very exciting this year. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you. And Walter?
Yes, it's been a crazy year, that's for sure. I've been blessed to be very busy. You know, I primarily do real estate appraisals, and we've been very busy this year. And in fact, I've had to turn work away. It's been so busy. So, but because I belong to other organizations as well, I've learned over the years how to balance everything out between the different organizations. I just have to prioritize things. And the year has been different, like Diane was just saying, as far as campaigning. You know, you might, normally you might knock on a lot of doors, but because of COVID concerns, people have been hesitant to do that this year. But, I just make sure my calendar on my iPhone is always updated, and I check it several times a day just to make sure I'm not missing anything. And so far it's been doing good.
Excellent. Thank you. And Gustavo?
Yeah, so I'm sure as everybody here knows, running a real estate business is an animal in and of itself. Running a campaign, I'm learning, is essentially a whole other job. So I wasn't sure what I was getting into, so it was kind of important for me to figure out a system to ensure that I was able to keep my business running, but at the same time be able to generate information for the constituents out here in Mineola. My main method has been leveraging block scheduling, which I already use in my regular business. I just sort of extended that out into the campaigning element. That was very helpful for me. Obviously, it doesn't work perfectly because like Diane said, it's not necessarily a 9-to-5 kind of a gig. So sometimes that changes. But that has been really, really helpful for me. I also have a very strong social presence. So I've been leveraging social media as much as possible to kind of share my thoughts and ideas with folks, because going out and doing door knocking doesn't seem like the appropriate thing to do under the circumstances of COVID-19. So I've been trying to leverage that as much as possible so that people can kind of get a better understanding of who I am, what I'm wanting to do, what kind of changes I'm thinking about, what things I think should stay the same, and also kind of also covering who I'm talking with, like people that I'm talking to out in the ether, and hearing what they have to say and kind of what their thoughts and ideas are as well. So I think all those things together has been really helpful in me keeping my sanity. But it has not been an easy race, to say the least, and that's me coming from, I've never done this before. So for those of you guys who have done it before, I have a higher appreciation for your experience.
Sorry. Sorry, I didn't. Good. Thank you, Gustavo.
Well, I have another question. What experiences as a realtor have helped prepare you for your campaign? And I think we'll start back with Chris again.
Well, working, of course, in real estate, we all work with various people and personalities. And so dealing with complex issues of each client has given me that ability to see that it's pretty much the same when you get on that council. You've got to work with the various personalities. You've got to work with the various types of people and even the complex issues that that are facing you. So real estate definitely has done that, because all of us have had those particular cases or people that we will always remember, and they made us who we are today, because we learned from how to deal with those situations, dealing with that person. So I think real estate definitely, I mean, even as a school teacher, I think being a school teacher prepared me as well, because I was a school teacher before for 8 years. I'm a pastor, so I've been a pastor for 17 years. So I think dealing with people has definitely been my background.
Thank you. How about you, Diane?
Yeah, so I find that being a realtor, I get to hear what people are looking for when they want to relocate to our area. And I get to hear what employers are seeking when they move their business here to our community. So that really, I think, is an advantage being on the council, because all of us as realtors, we deal with the people who are moving in from out of town and the businesses that want to come here. And it gives us a unique perspective on what we want our cities to look like and what our people want from, what, amenities they want in the city. And so it really helps to know, what people are looking for when we're sitting up there on the council making decisions on where the schools will be, if they're in a good area for safety and, restaurants and just a whole host of all of those things. People want variances. If a guy has 1 foot he's looking for a variance to do his house, it really gives you a good perspective. So I'm very glad I'm a realtor on the council.
Well, thank you so much, Diane. Walter, how about you?
Well, I mean, who do you think would understand our particular communities better than the realtors who are out there every day communicating with people, dealing with people in our neighborhood, knowing what's going on with planning and zoning issues, knowing what the problems are. And, as an appraiser, I think it gives me a unique perspective, because lots of planning and zoning issues come before the board, development approvals come before the board. And, not only, the people they have now will pretty much just rubber stamp a development without really digging into it at all to see if there's really any sufficient demand for that neighborhood. Is it at a price point where it would be affordable to people? Is it just going to sit there empty and never develop? I mean, there's a lot of perspectives. We know about the marketability of stuff that more so than most people would. So I think it gives a unique perspective, having been an appraiser and a realtor all these years, to help, the citizens of Tavares with that process.
Very good. Thank you, Walter. Gustavo.
All right. So seeing as they've pretty much said all the good stuff, I would have to agree with pretty much what everyone has said here. I don't want to go and sort of repeat the same stuff. What I would say is, in addition to what everyone has already said, I think that, being in the position to negotiate a win-win situation for both sides, typically you have situations where there are, there is opposition to a particular, in this case, for obviously it would be for a home, the price, the terms, all that good stuff. But the same concept can be applied when talking about any kind of topics or issues where there's opposition that's on both sides. And really, as a realtor, because we look at trying to understand the whole of the transaction and what's going to be in the best situation for the transaction, we really try to find a win-win for both sides. So I think that is for me, I feel is going to have a lot of value going into a city council position when discussing issues, to be open to understand and figure out, hey, okay, what's both sides talking about, what do they want, what are they needing, and how can we find a solution that is going to be amenable to both to both sides. And every negotiation, there's going to be someone who gets a little more and a little less, but really the best way you can know if a negotiation went well is if both sides feel like they got a little bit and they both feel a little uncomfortable about what they gave up. Then you know that you got pretty much a good negotiation that happened, and everyone usually walks away from something like that pretty happy. So if we can make some stuff like that at the sort of local political level happen, where issues come up and arise and no negotiations can happen, and we can find some ease where everyone kind of feel like they walked away with a little bit of a win, I think that's a good way, I think, to legislate. So I'm hoping that that's something that at least I can bring to the table for Mineola.
Excellent. And you bring up a really good segue to our next question, is a win-win. Vacation rentals are an advocacy priority for the Florida Realtors Organization. If elected, what measures would you take to prevent further regulation on vacation rentals, if at all? And we'll start with Gustavo on that one.
Okay, so this is an interesting question, and I know just a little bit about what's happening with the vacation rental. This is regarding HB 1011. Is that right? The House bill that was introduced in January.
Yes.
Okay, so you know, I'm not a big fan of regulation. I do like that, but I do understand that in some cases it's necessary. The question kind of suggests that hey, we shouldn't have any regulation or preventing regulation, but HB 1011 had some regulation. It just kind of came from the state level, right? It was sort of like, hey, these are going to be the rules that everyone kind of has to follow. So I can see that there's going to be some challenges with looking at this type of situation, because, you know, for example, if there is a community that's starting to get bought out by investors that turned into vacation rentals, and the people who live there are not happy with it being so transient, then do the people that live in that community, do they have a say in whether or not, you know, this should be allowed? And that's a tough question. So I guess without having more insight as to the implications of what these kinds of regulations could and could not do, I would say that I'm going to hold my opinion, other than to say, I would say this much. I think that it is important to have some basic elements of regulation, just kind of like what HB 1011 introduced. But I would be interested to see like what implications that could have on a more local level, because I can understand how a blanket measure may not necessarily apply well on local activities.
Excellent. And throw that question to you, Walter.
Well, we don't have a lot of vacation rental homes in Tavares. The ones that we do have are kind of congregated in our downtown area, which is really designated as a downtown entertainment area. So it's really not been much of an issue here in Tavares. I do believe that the homeowners should have the right to do what they want to do with their property within reason. I know one home that was in a standard residential neighborhood, they were using it as an Airbnb. And the problem they were having were, you know, 10 or 12 people would show up at a time there, all with their own cars, blocking the street and just causing a lot of confusion. So there's some balance that needs to be achieved there between the rights of homeowners to do what they want to do with their home and the rights of the neighbors. You know, some places like in Four Corners where there's many vacation homes, it's just not an issue because it's so common down there. But it's really not much of a problem here in Tavares.
Very good. And Chris?
I'm going to piggyback on Walter. We don't have a whole lot of vacation rentals in the city of Groveland. Sort of not a vacation spot right now, but as a former lobbyist who has spent a lot of time in Tallahassee, speaking with legislators and speaking at Senate panels and House of Representative panels, I think that, you know, speaking to those who have the power to change these regulations is key. You've got to speak to the legislators. You got to speak to the people who are higher than you that have the power to make those changes. So that would be very key. Of course, that's what RPAC does. You know, they're sort of the political arm of the Realtor Association. So of course, supporting them and going up when needed to speak out as an elected official to the higher elected officials who have the power to make those policy changes.
Excellent. And Diane?
So vacation rentals has been a hot topic here. Of course, I sit on the Tourism Development Council, as you know. And here in the city of Clermont, we passed an ordinance back in January for vacation rentals, which I'm not sure if it will be trumped by the county. The county has just introduced a vacation rental ordinance, which I do not think it's passed yet. So I don't know if their ordinance would trump our ordinance, but the ordinance from the tax collector's point of view is just to make sure that we're collecting, obviously, all the tourism tax that we can, that people are supposed to be doing if they rent their places. The city has been yes, we want people to pay the hotel tax. However, we're looking at it more like health and safety. So like Groveland may not have vacation rentals, but if I'm not mistaken, Groveland has an ordinance where if you rent your property, you have to get inspected for health and safety.
Yes.
They check the windows, they check, right?
Mhm.
So that was a key thing here. We want to know, because we get complaints when people rent their property. So we passed an ordinance, a vacation rental ordinance, where you have to register your property. We make sure that, passes all the health safety things, and then we have a record of who's doing what when we have issues. So, but that being said, HB 1011, I'm glad that didn't pass, because it should be up to the cities. I mean, it shouldn't be, in my opinion, it's one size doesn't fit all. So I don't know if that's going to come back around. I don't know where that's at, but we're happy where we're at right now, and I don't know if the Lake County ordinance is going to pass. It was supposed to, I think we were supposed to know October, but here we are October, so I'm not sure.
Thank you for that. And I think it's an issue that we all need to keep an eye on, both locally and at the state level, because greater restrictions definitely wouldn't help homeowners left or right.
Especially in COVID right now, we don't want to turn away tourism and make it difficult for homeowners or turn away tourists. So yeah, we need to really keep an eye on that.
Excellent. All yours, Jeff.
Thank you. My next question is, how would you work toward creating more affordable housing in your jurisdiction? What can we do to create more smart growth in Lake County? I think we'll ask Walter to kick us off on this question.
Well, Tavares has actually done a good job of creating affordable housing. And when I say affordable housing, what I'm talking about is the market should be the one that dictates what kind of housing gets put up, what price point gets put up. They need to study the demand, and they shouldn't have any artificial mandates coming down from the federal government or the state government saying you need to put so much of one kind of housing in a neighborhood, so much in another neighborhood. As an example, realtors, that when you get a loan, they look at a 28% debt to income ratio typically for a house payment. And if you back that into monthly payments and you back that into present values, you'll see that in Tavares, our median income is around $44,000. And if you back through that math, you'll see that equates to a house somewhere around $225,000 would be the median price house for the median income. And so I looked on the MLS and I ran the statistics, and the median priced home in Tavares is actually $235,000. So the market's actually done a good job of fulfilling the price point of homes that they need based on the median income. So I really can't complain about what's happening. I mean, the city hasn't done that. The developers and the market themselves have. But we do have lots of affordable options here. We have many duplexes and triplexes in the area. We do have some Section 8 housing in the area. And we also have some multi-million-dollar mansions. So we've got it all covered here. And I think we've done a pretty good job.
Very good. Gustavo, how about Mineola?
So Mineola, as far as I know, does not really have any affordable housing. I'll have to look deeper into that just to make sure. I think the biggest challenge is really understanding the implications of affordable housing in any community. One is also educating, like, affordable housing, and then also I think a little more nuanced variant of that is workforce housing, which I think workforce housing is probably a little bit more of a when discussed, seems to be a little bit more acceptable to most people, just because of how it's framed. It's a bit difficult to have affordable housing be put on a particular city, just because it kind of like what Walter was saying, it kind of goes against what the market might be supporting. If a particular area is moving in a particular direction, usually that's reflective of the median incomes and what have you. Obviously, there are exceptions to that. I would say that, I'd be interested to hear, what the county is doing to look at sort of unincorporated areas for affordable housing, maybe tie that into something close to workforce housing, where there can be a transition from affordable housing to workforce housing within the city, and then, try to, get folks, to maybe transition from workforce housing to traditional homes. So I'd be really interested in working very closely with Lake County and identifying, sort of how we can partner with them to create sort of a transitional stairway, so that people can go from a place where they have to leverage affordable housing to a place where they can afford to purchase a traditional home because they've been able to move up the ranks of whatever they're doing in their life as their livelihood. So I think it's a very nuanced and very difficult conversation. It's going to require sort of a lot of players to be involved and to make it happen. And I'm very excited to have those conversations with both my neighbors, my neighboring cities, to see how they're looking at it, as well as the county, to see how they're looking at it and seeing how we can play a role in that.
Very good. Diane, being one of the neighboring areas there, how about you?
So the city of Clermont's been looking into this problem we have, and it is a problem because now we have all these good restaurants, and we have restaurant workers that can't afford to live here. So they're having a hard time finding people to work in their restaurants. So it's a big problem. So we went ahead and passed an ordinance. Well, first of all, we had a stop moratorium on building multifamily for a while, until we could come up with what we thought would be a solution. And the solution, one of the solutions we came up with, was to give builders an incentive when they come in front of us for multifamily now. They'll have to set aside X amount for workforce housing. So it's not one big building of workforce housing. It will be incorporated in their project, and the parameters that they have to come up with. So like the income levels will dictate what's affordable, and they have to set aside so many units for affordable housing. And we also tried to set aside one of our street, Hook Street, which is a main street going through the city, because you have to be close to hospitals and schools, and preferably even walking distance. So there's a lot of things that, and we're still, I guess there's a lot of projects that are going to be coming before us, which will incorporate some more workforce housing, which we desperately need. So we're working on it. We got a good start, and we need to continue to work on it.
Sounds good, Diane. How about you, Chris?
Well, that is definitely an issue that has been on the sort of the campaign trail this particular year. I know myself and another candidate is definitely for affordable housing, but of course, when you say that word, I like workforce a little better. People automatically think the worst. They think Section 8, they think projects. But really, we're talking about that family who may make between 35 and 45,000 a year, and they can't afford the 240, 250 and higher price range that we now have in Groveland. And so a lot of people are what they're doing. They are going to Clermont to live in apartments because we also don't have apartments. And so that's one of the things that I want to address, is that we have to look at creating, some nice apartment living, much like Clermont have done. They've done an excellent job. And we definitely need to consider those people who want to call Groveland their home and raise their family, but they can't afford 250 to, the high 200s in our city. We are growing, so there is a demand for housing, but it's pushing out the lower income producing bracket. We need to make sure that people matter more than projects. I'd like to find out, what are we getting out of these developers? Are we just giving them tax incentive? We just gave away, I won't mention names, but we just gave away 10 years of free taxes to somebody. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous when you can give away that many years of taxes, but yet you're not looking at what your citizens need. And so I want to sit down with developers and say, okay, you want to come into Groveland? What are you bringing to us? How are the citizens going to benefit from you being here? Because this is a two-way street. You need benefits, but we also need benefits for our citizens. Land, tax dollars to build recreation facilities, parks, the things that we do not have in this city. And so we need to make sure we're doing smart growth. We need to make sure these builders are not building these tiny streets, because in America, many families are living together, unlike ever before. And so when you've got 4 cars at a house and 2 are in the driveway, the garage is being used as a storage, and the other cars are on the streets, and your neighbor's cars is on the street, it's a bit tough to navigate through the street or have an emergency vehicle come when the streets are already built tiny, and they're built so tiny because the builders are trying to build more homes and make more money. We had a house that burnt down in a neighborhood because the fire truck could not get through the street because it was so small.
Those are all very valid points. And Gustavo, I'm going to piggyback on something that you picked up on. There's actually a group called Lake 100, and it's a group of private companies, heads of colleges, heads of CEOs of companies, small businesses, large corporations that gather on a monthly basis. And one of the studies that they just did was based on affordable workforce and attainable housing. Kent Adcock, the president of the Habitat for Humanity, presented it at the Lake County Commission meeting. I think it was the last meeting of September. And if you want, you can pull it up and watch that video. It's really just a great presentation. And it's a wonderful conversation that's taking place with city leaders from across Lake County, what we can do to better partner between private organizations, city municipalities, and the county level to make sure that we're being a magnet for companies to come in, because they won't come in if we don't have the workforce, and we won't have the workforce unless we have the housing. So it's this domino effect that we all have to be really cognizant and aware of. And I encourage all of you to participate in that discussion and meet the people that are the players in that organization.
That's called Group Lake 100.
Lake 100. Yeah, it's a fantastic organization. And definitely they're bringing this conversation to the forefront, because Lake County, with affordable, attainable, and workforce housing, this is an issue that is here and now. And if we don't get ahead of it, we're going to be behind it. And that's the last place we want to be. Which brings up the next question. Due to the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic, what would you do to rebuild the local economy in your area? And we'll start with Chris on this one.
Well, as you know, the small businesses are the bedrock of our community. We're grateful for the corporate chain people that come in, but at the end of the day, those generational families that have been built with those local businesses is what we need to make sure that we fully support. One of the things I want to make sure, if it's not already in place, which I don't think it is, I want to make sure that we want to look at our budget and see how we can create an emergency fund for local businesses in times of emergencies like a pandemic, a hurricane, a city shutdown, so that so while the bureaucrats in Washington are fighting, businesses are dying because they can't get funding and they're waiting on funding while they're fighting. We don't have time to wait for people to finish their fight when our businesses are dying and people who have built generational businesses are losing them because they didn't get money in time. And so the city needs to make sure that we have some type of fund. We can't, bail everybody completely out, but I think if people got an upper hand just a little bit to help them, that's something that we need to make sure that we're doing to make sure that those that are most important to us, our local businesses, they're there. Because once the local businesses are gone, what do you have? You don't have anything. And so we need to make sure we have a business partnership. Claremont has done that, and we have never done that. So that's one of the things I'm going to implement is a business partnership so that we can see what our businesses need from the city. We're not doing that. We've changed our name to the City of Natural Charm, and that's great, but we still have some other natural issues that we have not dealt with that need to be dealt with.
And Diane, kick it over to Claremont.
Yeah, so, obviously we put out things, we have our buy local month where we try to, tell everybody to, just try to buy locally. Also, thank God we have a governor that moved us to phase 3. Our businesses need to be open, and they needed to be open all the way. So already, I think they're already starting to rebuild. We do a lot on our website when we have promoting our local businesses, especially our downtown businesses. We just had one open, Montrose Market, for instance. So we try to make a big deal when they're doing special things, like either a grand opening, a ribbon cutting. They're running some kind of, even just some kind of special. So we really try to promote it on our city website for the local businesses, and try to get people just to buy local and support, especially our downtown businesses that were really hurt during the pandemic. But like I said, I think they're all coming back slowly but surely. And we are, again, so happy we're in phase 3 right now. We just need to, everybody needs to put their mask on and stay healthy so we can stay there. But yeah, so we are moving ahead with that.
Agreed. All right. And now Walter in Tavares.
Well, my thoughts on that are sort of what, like Diane was saying, I'm very happy that Governor DeSantis opened up all the restrictions. I think that was the thing that needed to be done. So many of our local restaurants, only had 50% capacity, and it was just killing them. In fact, Tavares, their unemployment rate is about 2% higher than the state unemployment rate. So by opening these businesses up fully, getting people back to work is going to be the key to that. We need to just remove these restrictions that were there, which the governor has done. And we're just slowly, I go out to our local restaurants and I see they're getting pretty full again. So I think we're on the way back, and I think the market again will take care of that.
And Gustavo.
Okay, so this is a really powerful question, because it starts to get into how much government should be getting involved in, private market activity, so on and so forth. I'm pretty conservative as it relates to that. However, I do think it is imperative that leaders take leadership, and that doesn't necessarily have to mean money. That could also mean taking initiatives. I agree wholeheartedly with what Chris mentioned about having a business partnership. I think that's a very good direction to go in. It allows the city to understand what the local business community needs and what resources the city can provide to those businesses. And when I say resources, the city typically has access to a lot of resources, and even if it's not necessarily cash in hand, there's just a lot of resources it has available to help local businesses. I think there definitely needs to be an education program for local businesses, and I'll be the first one to say that the city can take leadership on that. We're working with local chamber of commerce, working with organizations like SCORE to come in and put together workshops to help local business owners understand how to better manage their finances so they can save, and put away monies in the event of some, downturn or something like that. Of course, COVID-19 was sort of a black swan event. So it's sort of like this, once in a lifetime, never really happens. Who could have predicted kind of a thing? It's kind of hard to work under those circumstances and be able to predict something like that. But, the businesses that are able to kind of hold on are the ones that were able to kind of squirrel away a little bit of savings and kind of were able to kind of get by. And I think having that sort of fiscal understanding of how to manage your business and stuff like that is going to be very helpful. Additional elements would include, I lost my train of thought here. So I was talking about the board. So I'm looking to put together an advisory board, a business advisory board for the city of Mineola. One of the arguments I've heard is, we already have a CRA. The CRA, which is a community redevelopment agency, not really designed for that. It does help local business to some degree, specifically for areas that need redevelopment, but it doesn't really represent the local business community. And having a voice from the community, I think, is going to be absolutely critical. And then, leveraging things like what Diane said, where you're promoting some of the incentives that the businesses want to do, doing things like you're going to have a buy local month or something like. Those are all great projects. I would definitely work with my sister cities on all around to see, hey, what are you guys doing? Let's see if we can do stuff. Let's do things that are not in competition with each other. So if you're having a buy local a month in January, then I'll do mine in February or something like that, so that we're not competing with each other. So I think those are going to be like having partnerships across, going back to partnering with our municipal brothers and sisters and with our county and state level organizations. I think those are going to be really helpful. And again, going back to that private public partnerships, I think is huge. So really leveraging that so that the local community of business owners knows that they can go to the city and, hey, listen, we can be a resource for you. Come and reach out to us. We'll help get you connected to the right person to get you exactly what you need so that you can make sure that you know how to put your restaurant on, DoorDash, or how to create an e-commerce website to sell your widgets or whatever the case may be. So that's kind of the way that I look at it. I think that would be the best approach.
Thank you so much. So with this last question, Jeff's going to ask, well, because of time, we're going to do 1 minute each, if that's okay. If you could keep your answer brief. Jeff, go ahead.
Okay. What local issues or topics inspired you to run for office? Did you get that? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Who would you like to answer?
Oh, I guess I got to say that. That's right. I forgot. Chris, how about you, buddy?
One of the local issues that got me involved was the fact that, well, it was a couple issues. One of the things is the lack of communications to our citizens on issues. We used to have a newsletter that would inform our citizens of different things, and today they look up and things have passed and we haven't really communicated to them what we've been doing. Wasteful spending was another reason why I got involved in the political scene. I ran other people's campaigns, including the former vice mayor. Nothing for our youth. I moved here with 6 children and there was no city gym, no city pool. That was 17 years ago. We still don't have that. We still don't have any of those things. I think politicians have forgotten to be public servants first. Our number one priority is that we actually do what we promise on the campaign trail. You know, it sounds good on paper, sounds good on your mail out, but are you actually going to do that? Will you actually listen to the people? I've been here 17 years. We've never had a town hall meeting. We've never had, you know, meet the candidates, debates, any of that stuff. Nobody knows anybody until a postcard hits the mail. It's time to change that. It's time to hear what the citizens want. They're the taxpayers. We need to ask them what kind of town they want to live in and what kind of growth they want to see.
Excellent. Diane. Sorry, Diane.
Yeah, so Chris, you need to do what we did 8 years ago.
I know what you did.
So that was what got me involved, is we were doing the visioning sessions with everybody in the city. What do you want?
Yep.
And out of that, we went to a rebranding, and it was proposed for a master plan. And when we got our new city manager, you know, our old city manager was here like 30 years or so. We were very stagnant. So when we got the new one, and he said he was going to do a visioning session and we were going to have a master plan, that was very exciting to me, because I wanted to, you know, bring this city up to the 21st century. So that's what got me excited about running for office. And we're 6 years into that master plan, and still very excited about it.
Excellent. I'm going to throw it next to Gustavo in Mineola.
Yeah, so there are actually, I would say, two big things that kind of drove me to run. One is there's, you know, the growth of Mineola is quite stark. We have just under 5,000 households right now, and right now in the pipeline we have another 5,000 coming. So in one fell swoop, we're essentially going to be doubling our population quite fast. From a tax perspective, that can be problematic over time. So I don't know that was necessarily taken into consideration. There's a lot of short-term benefits from doing something like that for the city, but there are some long-term shortfalls, shortcomings that come from that, and I felt it necessary to get involved because I saw that there's going to definitely be some shortcomings from that. The second thing was very much along the lines of both what Diane and Chris mentioned, which is this idea of having an identity. I think Mineola right now is pretty much seen as a suburb of Claremont. There's not really a town center. There's not really a business district of any kind. You know, doesn't really have an identity of its own. So, you know, I would very much like to engage in doing something very similar. When we do a visioning session, we bring in the community and really get the community rejuvenated about the idea of being and living in Mineola. The more that you can get the citizens of the city involved, the more you're going to get engagement, the more you're going to get feedback, the better the city is going to ultimately be, because everyone is actually talking about what they want to see, what they want to do, how they see the future of the city. And without that, what happens is you end up having the 5 council people pretty much making all the decisions without having any input from the community. And that's not really fair to the community at large. So finding ways to engage the community in some capacity as much as possible and getting their feedback, I think is going to be an important component to building Mineola. And that's the other element that I thought was really important for us to figure that out, so that we can get Mineolans to actually engage and figure out what our future looks like.
Very good. And Walter, what inspired you to run for public office?
Well, I got frustrated with our city council because some of our council members have actually tried to mislead the citizens about budget cuts, about tax rates, about spending. For instance, they actually sent out a press release talking about how they had lowered the millage rate. But because they didn't go to the rollback rate, they actually raised taxes in the city another $455,000 this year. And in the year of COVID and high unemployment, I didn't think it was appropriate that they raised our property taxes. They also tried to convince us they cut 25% out of the budget. And in hindsight, when you go in and you look at the numbers, they actually didn't cut anything out of the budget. They have a lot of projects they want to do that are very wasteful. For instance, they want to spend $200,000 to put a restroom in our city cemetery, and which I just, who's going to use that? We have a wooden playground in our park on the waterfront, and they want to spend $650,000 to rebuild that little wooden playground. So, I mean, there's a lot of wasteful spending. There's a lot of, for instance, we have 18,000 plus citizens in Tavares, and our debt level is $85 million, which to me is totally unacceptable, because that's about $5,000 per person in debt. And so there's just a lot of fiscal responsibility, fiscal things that need to be corrected there in the city. And that's what I'm looking forward to doing.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And I really appreciate all of you being here with us today. I wish you all very good luck on the campaign trail. November 3rd, what is it, 4th? This November 3rd. Can't get here soon enough. So
Sure.
I heard all of our members to go vote, and I bet you will all support our Realtor members as candidates. Thank you so much for today, and I will see you out there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.